Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com.
Great to see that as we introduce the show to a video audience, audio-visual audience, Tom is looking not on screen, but at his phone in a clearly engaged... Who wants to be here?
Jesus, Adam, who are
buddy.
you, my mother?
Yes.
Sorry, mate. We're at the dinner table. If you could just pop your phone away. This is family time, all right?
So you said no phone at the breakfast table.
It's the same table, mate.
Wait, you guys don't have separate tables for lunch and breakfast?
I don't.
And dinner?
I mean, must be nice, Adam. Must be nice to have two separate tables for different meals.
You guys, one bed and the other one's the coffee table, but yeah, that's fine.
I was going to say, you guys eat your meals at a table?
All I eat my meals at the coffee table in front of the TV, like every 21st century millennial, surely.
Yeah, like every person who, thanks to a crazy property market and rental market, has to rent out and live in a space that cannot afford to have a separate dining and lounge.
No, I don't want to. Let's not go down this.
Down that road.
It's too sad. So we're going to talk about happy things instead. So this week, top story. Barnaby Joyce is back in. Everyone's favorite mongrel beetroot is back on the scene.
Oh. Yes, turns out the optimism I had last week. I'm optimistic. What was the phrase that I used? I'm optimistic.
Relentless optimism in face of all the facts. Surely not. Quote Adam Doreen, 2021, 1 week ago, transported through time. Surely the Nationals wouldn't be so stupid as to, look, they've done it.
Yep, they've done it.
I did the thing.
Yeah, in a story that was immediately out of date the moment we really published anything about it. But yeah, the spill happened, the Nat spill that we talked about in the last episode.
Which, by the way, when I posted last week's episode was titled Nat Spill, and I thought I was just being clever, but it turns out that was the hashtag that ended up.
Oh yeah, of course.
I was just
we all
okay.
Hashtag libspill and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Nat spill just seems. Yeah, I'd be shocked if it wasn't the official hashtag going around.
I was impressed at my foresight. It's normally, it is not often, Tom, that as a 30-year-old gentleman that I'm on the front foot with social media trends. It's generally a rarity. So a complete accident in this case. So
that is fair.
Almost like you've got the time stone or something there, just zipping back and forth. Crazy time traveler, you being able to guess hashtags.
I tell you what, Adam, if I was a time traveler, I certainly wouldn't be coming back in time to give myself a good hashtag as much as I'd be giving myself a sports almanac for the next 50 years. So I could, like Biff Tannen, create a multi-million dollar sports betting empire.
So really what you're saying is you want to become Donald Trump.
I want to become Donald Trump. Yeah.
But like alternate 80s Donald Trump, which was all kind of weird and like random Mad Max.
Yes.
Like it seemed like the world had gone to mad. We're getting on a tangent about Back to the Future too. I love that movie. But no. So on Monday,
speaking of Donald Trump like political figures, Barnaby Joyce has successfully knifed Michael McCormack and has now resumed the National Party leadership to everyone's vague disgust.
Do we know he just keeps coming back?
Yeah,
it's the
like
gift
herpes
that keeps on giving.
Yeah, like herpes, he just keeps on coming back and is effective against carp. But the thing...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have been Unnatural Selection. On that note, I don't think we can top that. There's no possible way. There's no talking that we could do for the next 45 minutes that's going to be better than that joke. So I think we just have to call it early.
We just have to call it
as well. It's such a niche joke that
I like to think it's a deep cut about the Barnaby Joyce saga.
We'll have to get into
all the things to talk about.
Barnaby Joyce B-sides.
Yeah, so do we know the details of sort of how it went down in the party room yet? Because as far as I remember, like on Monday, because the way these ballots happen is there's secret ballots usually within their own party room. So it's not like the press are in the room witnessing it all happen. But of course, there'd be people in the room who are texting their journalist mates to be like, lol, Matt Canavan just moved the motion or whatever to do the vote. But it felt like it took them a long time to count 11 votes. Like, there's not many of them that need to have voted in favor of Barnaby for it to go through, right?
Yeah, it should be pretty quick. So all in favour of rickrolling Barnaby, say aye. Rickrolling, Michael McCormack, say aye.
McCormack.
Ayes, nays. Looks like the ayes have it. Like it should be 30 seconds, basically.
Yeah, would not have taken long at all. But I think, pardon me, as a result, it seems like we don't know specifically like who knifed him directly. We can kind of guess by maybe people's just general opinions about Barnaby, outside of the party room.
The media can sort of guess it. The ballot is secret, but like, for instance, Anne Webster, who holds the safest seat of the Mallee, has warned that some constituents would be very, very unimpressed with the return to Joyce. So there are people that are obviously...
the safest seat in the Mallee. For 300 years,
I think those people that she's referring to would probably mainly be women. Given
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say women that Barnaby Joyce has personally made a sexual advance on. But
yes,
I mean, those two things, the Venn diagram of those two things basically overlaps. So
because a big part of the discourse following Barnaby's return is not only people rehashing, oh, hey, remember that he had an affair with one of his media advisors or head of comms or something like that.
As a PR person, as a comms person, you think she would know better. Like, what's the story going to be like when it comes out that Barnaby Joyce has impregnated one of his staff members? Probably not good. And yet, they've gone ahead and done it anyway. But
also, it's been reminded this week, which a lot of people forget, myself included, that following that story of the affair with a staffer, Barnaby Joyce was also alleged to have committed sexual harassment.
Oh yeah,
at least being investigated for it, and that was never resolved.
Oh yeah, alleged sex pest. Yeah, remember that? Remember the time where he was found not to be a citizen of this country and therefore ineligible to stand parliament? Remember that? Where was he from?
New Zealand. New Zealand. All right.
Dual citizen.
Dual citizen with
that
New Zealand.
That was the first time he got ejected from parliament, right? And then
was one of those he had to step down, then he just got he sorted it all out and re-elected.
If national leaders you want to be, you must pass through these crisis 3.
And then he came back, and then obviously, as Tom just said, the previous affair that he had didn't him a second time, and he's back again and leader again.
As many people have pointed out, allegations of sexual assault and misconduct, etc., they don't seem to ruin men's careers. I mean, he's back. He's back. Completely consequence-free.
Yeah. But don't worry, Tom, because he's over it. So we should all be over it too. We sound like, I like to think I've come back a better person. Yada, yada, yada. I'm over it. So you guys should be over it as well. Yeah. Okay, thanks, bye. Thanks for the $200,000 pay rise.
Yes, thanks for the pay rise.
It wasn't even like a soft transition. It wasn't even like we'll change leaders and we'll just, it'll just be continuity and change. We'll just have a bit of that. No, he came in like a wrecking ball. Okay, despite being like, no, I'm not going to make any.
Like so many Miley Cyruses came in like a fucking wrecking ball.
To start off with, they had, and it's so cooked the way they pulled this off. So they had the spill. Of course, the Governor General wasn't around because of COVID stuff or prior engagements or whatever, so they couldn't actually swear him in. So they had to go to a question time straight afterwards, where Michael McCormack, still technically the leader or the Deputy Prime Minister, but he's the Deputy Prime Minister, but he's not the leader of the Nationals.
Yeah.
And everyone's asking him about it. And Labor just got to sit back and be like,
"That's amazing. Cool. That's like your final day." Yeah, that's like your final day in a job where you've been fired, and you're like, "But I still have to be here till 5." It was like, "All right, cool. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Tasmania, you can secede. Why not? You know what? Let's give them permission."
You know what? Anyone who calls through today, definitely getting a refund. 100%. Don't give a fuck.
Yep. You know what? Anyone who calls me, my office directly in the next hour doesn't have to pay tax this financial year. Why not?
And then when they did swear him in, they had this little ceremony at Government House, which they do for any minister, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
And Scott Morrison can't be there because he's in quarantine. And this is the other thing. Like, Scott Morrison wasn't even in Parliament. It wasn't around. The Nats just went and did this without any apropos of nothing.
Yeah,
Anyway.
they did it while Mum and Dad were out of the house.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely has that feel of like, when Mum and Dad are away, the cats are out to play. Like, guess who's getting knifed? Maybe some pizza.
Scott had to rock up to this swearing in ceremony via video link and was there sort of with this big screen in the background. You got the Governor General on one side, you got Barnaby Joyce on the other, and they're all just like, we all wanted this. This is a great day.
This is all great. We all definitely thought when we woke up this morning, this is how this day would end. We're all definitely big fans of what's happening right now.
Of course, at that press conference, Barnaby had his young son there who was running around, and there's this wonderful, and obviously Barnaby's just sort of gone, like the kids run up to him, and Barnaby's like, not now.
Not now, sweetheart. And he's just kind of like, but it's created this amazingly, like, instantly meme-worthy picture where, like, Barnaby's kind of like smiling awkwardly. His son's coming up, he's like pushing him in the face, pushing him away. And then, like, ScoMo's on the screen behind him, smiling like the alabaster moron that he is. Like, it's perfect. And it's like, and so, like, the meme I sent you guys that came out of it immediately was like me trying to be productive, and then trying to leave the house during winter, and then Battlefield 5, and it's just kind of like pushing him in the face. No. It's just like, it's one of those things where, like, imagine if you were in the room, like, if you're the photographer looking through the aperture, it's like, did I get it? Like, did that just happen? Did I fucking get that? I hope I fucking got that. I got to have the speed shutter on for sure.
Yeah. Hello, Walkley.
Yeah. Hello, Walkley, my old friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I deserve fucking Peabody. What do you reckon, gents? Lunch? It's 10:30, Carl. What are you talking about? I reckon that's lunch.
Yeah. But so, yeah, it's amazing to think that he's taken over while Michael McCormack, had this not happened, would have had another week of being in charge of the country. So we have this amazing system where someone can just go step, and then suddenly they're in charge.
It's white power Bill from Arrested Development stabbing someone in the fucking kidneys. Just step. And they're just like, he's the deputy prime minister now because he killed. It's like Game of Thrones rules. Like, whoever's left standing has the leadership now.
Yeah. And, like, you could argue that it's. I think did we say this last week that it's mildly undemocratic?
Mildly, yeah, like, mild to incredibly spicily undemocratic. Yes, to just have a different deputy prime minister sitting at the end of the day based on no votes and no input from the public whatsoever. Yeah, kind of anti-democratic. Barnaby Joyce said that the justification for his long-fought campaign to get back into the leadership was that he had, quote, a different set of attributes to Michael McCormack. So I think he's talking about, he must just be the world's greatest lover, as Tom has said time and time again. Just baby's arm holding an adult penis. And, like, it's the only thing that it could be as far as I'm concerned. Baby's arm holding an apple, holding a big black dick. That must be the situation that Barnaby Joyce is rocking there. Completely different set of attributes to Michael McCormack. Because
every single aspect of Barnaby Joyce is utterly repulsive. Like, everything about him.
He is, like, objectively...
He is offensive to all five
repugnant.
senses. Like, all five senses.
Yes. Yeah, I could... taste, smell, just everything about Barnaby Joyce and his red-faced lunacy is just completely objectionable to all thinking, feeling people.
And then his policies, his track record in Parliament, his behaviour towards people, all of it is just utterly repugnant. And yet, he's had all these sex scandals. Got to be something there that I'm clearly not seeing. But also, he's terrible. Again, allegations that are still being investigated and were never cleared up.
Allegedly. Let's sprinkle some allegedlys on there just to be safe. It's good because as Sammy J in his Playground Politics series, what's that called? So good.
Playground Politics.
Playground Politics. Yes, as Sammy J said, it's a Barnaby, the very hungry Barnaby is back, and he's been munching through everything. So he's been munching through the Nationals leadership, but also he's been munching through the any kind of plans that the government might make around renewable energy. And, specifically, he's, quote, absolutely focused laser-like on the coal miners. So good luck to the Liberal National Party that has a preferred target of 2050 for all, net zero emissions. Barnaby said, net zero emissions, not zero emissions by 2050. That's our shared goal. not zero emissions.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, is that he's come in not with any sort of degree of, not even just to placate the voters. He's there to actually shake things up. And it's like, yeah, we reported on last week that they were already looking at pulling apart, various pieces of legislation. But so what they've confirmed so far is the whole Net 50 thing is basically probably
just
done.
Dead in the water.
I
hope you guys like coal, because you're going to be seeing a fucking lot of it. Just coal, just going to be getting coal, sprinkling it on. We're going to go to green events. We're going to go find some wind turbines, sprinkle some fucking coal on it. We're going to go to a family barbecue, sprinkle some fucking coal on it. The Nationals, not giving a fuck about farmers since 1908. Go suck egg, cunts.
And then the other aspect is they already tried to pull apart some amendments to the Murray-Darling plan in terms of water reallocation, whether it's going back to the environment or whether it's going to the community or farmers, and they've tried to pull out some stuff out of the environment. I think those amendments ended up failing, but they tried. And there is another thing that he's trying to push through. Basically, it's the agreement they have with the coalition. So every time there's a new leader, it gives the leader of the Nationals license to go up to the Prime Minister or the leader of the Liberals and be like, I want to renegotiate our partnership. So anything that Barnaby wants to stick his foot down on, he's got license to go, we'll tear up the coalition, which they're probably not going to do because it means they wouldn't have any power.
Because, it would make them completely
mutually assured
useless.
destruction.
Make them a ham sandwich at a bar mitzvah, completely fucking useless.
But it's basically like he can now sue for whatever he wants, basically. And like, just to prove
what it
that
is,
he's no liberal lackey.
It's essentially like creating a crossbench in the middle of a term. It's just like all of a sudden there's a brand new group of people that you need to appease, and we get to put our despite the fact that we had an agreement, we had a governing coalition for the next couple of years until the next election cycle. Barnaby's just come in and in his trademark style just gobbled it up, tried to sexually assault the agreement, allegedly.
He keeps saying that he's obsessed with, he really, like coal miners' jobs and coal workers' jobs are his primary focus. I would challenge him. He would not know one coal worker's name. I bet you he wouldn't know one coal worker's name. All he would know.
Do you know one coal worker's name, Adam?
I don't know.
As an inner city lefty, do you?
I don't.
Latte sipping, rat carrying wanker.
I mean, I do love rats in my beds, nibbling at my children's feet, all that kind of stuff. It's real fun.
And lattes.
And lattes at the same time.
I'll have the rats over for a latte tomorrow.
Barnaby's busy.
Basically. I can't remember what I was going to say now, but I don't think he would. I reckon he doesn't know any. He puts on this face that he's for the worker. All he's worried about are donors that are knocking on his door going, hey, mate, we need you to do X, Y, Z, which is the way it's been throughout all of Barnaby's political career. It's not been about the bloody...
He described himself just recently as more of a retail politician than Michael McCormack, which is just a fun way of saying fucking pork barrelaro over here. Just really into pork barreling. Just really into getting a good deal for my constituents at the expense of fucking everyone else. That's what retail politician is code for.
The other thing he's been throwing out in terms of international politics is saying basically that he wants Australia to be less in bed with America, which, you could argue the merits on that. But in terms of, any potential conflict with Taiwan or anything with China in that sort of sphere, he'd be pushing for Australia not to get involved.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of people would agree with.
Yeah, let's not be so in bed with the States. It's not like, the coal industry has a big incentive to not have any beefs with China ever, given we love to export it to them.
I can't imagine the resource and mining industry would have anything to say about that sort of geopolitical position. So
where does this leave them?
What happens next? I just fucking hate. I just hate the guy so much. Legitimately, I just do not like that this like circular firing squad of foot shooting that the Nationals have just engaged themselves in. Like I was just like, it's bad for the coalition, it's bad for the country. All it does is keep a few fucking hicks happy in rural electorates that vote for the Nationals. And like I just like, I don't understand how people, like, they're meant to be a party for the farmers, and like to so completely stack up behind coal industry, which like directly damages the environment and makes it harder for farmers, just seems like the most absurd level of like backsliding that you could possibly imagine. And I don't know, like, don't forget old ScoMo's a coal humper himself. Like this is the guy who brought a piece of coal onto the floor of Parliament, laminated, by the way, because it's obviously quite dangerous. And then so that's true. They had to laminate the coal because
So it's now useless as a form of energy production.
Oh yeah,
like
no, it's only a prop. To be
right,
clear,
right. So
just a prop. But yeah, like
they've actually bought it as part of their collection now.
Yeah, can it now be next to the trophy of I stopped these boats on his desk as to like I dug this out of the ground?
Yeah, I use this as a piece of political theater to bash my opponents needlessly while the world burns. It's too much. It's a bit wordy for a plaque. I just all of them just a bunch of self-satisfied, proud, ignorant, awful people that are just like actively ruining the world. And I'm just like, great, we're one step further down the darkest timeline. That's great. That's all. Yeah. That's all of this is great.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, so that's a lot of fun. Barnaby's back. Congratulations to the man who was on record as saying he wanted the government out of his life for his promotion into a higher position in
highly paid government. The second most highly paid government position that there is in the federal government.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. There's two kinds of tomato I hate, and that's raw tomato and Barnaby Joyce.
There is a solution, which is that we could blast him into space and make him stay there by filling out a change.org position, because we all know that change.org petitions.
You mean petitions?
Petitions. What did I say?
I mean, you said positions. I don't know what positions.
There's lots of positions.
Change.org is in.
Lots of positions that Barnaby Joyce is familiar with. Just ask all of his aides. His many, many aides. Sexual positions is what I was referring to there.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Of the noted sex scandal with one of his staffers that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we'll just keep coming back to that.
Sexual, is this thing on?
Circling back to
sexual position. Yeah, you got it. Cool.
Yeah,
we got it. Petitions.
Yeah, we got it.
Jeff
but I'm talking about
Bezos.
petitions to send. This is actually about Jeff Bezos, but I don't see why we can't take this philosophy and apply it elsewhere. So Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world, last time I checked.
Last time he checked as well.
Yeah. He is the head of Blue Origin.
Just hitting refresh on that Forbes 100 article, just at all times. I don't know. He doesn't really get time to do much else. He's just going, no, it's Jack Ma again. No, wait, it's me.
So Blue Origin is a space company which he founded, and they're going to be sending humans into like, it's technically space. It's not really space. It's technically space.
It's space adjacent.
It's space. It's sort of in the region of space. It's like above 100 kilometers or something. And they're going to be sending tourists. So you can pay a lot of money and you can go into sort of space. And they even auctioned off one seat on this rocket they've built, which went to, I don't know, someone. But you can join, if the person who won that is going to join Bezos and I think Bezos's brother or something to go into space. Anyway. But
that's right. And everyone's been saying that Jeff Bezos' brother looks like the porn parody version of Jeff Bezos.
Okay,
like the discount Jeff Bezos. Anyway, so there's a petition that he should go to space and stay there.
Okay, Mark Bezos.
You're looking up pictures of him.
Yeah, he really does look like the porn parody version of Jeff Bezos.
Does he have hair? Does he have hair?
No, well, he hasn't got any hair on his head. He is bald, but he's got more of a stubble and kind of like a darker eyebrows, kind of like
he looks like Jeff Bezos only you
likes
might
to fuck.
Well, yeah, he looks like Jeff Bezos only you might want to see him naked.
Yeah.
like you got the thing of like, oh, all right, if I had to see one of them naked, clearly him.
Yeah, he's definitely got a bit of a squarer jaw.
handsome.
He's got kind of a Johnny Sins look about him. I don't know if you guys are aware of that male adult performer Johnny Sins.
I'm not.
Every man.
How many N's in Sins? I'll look them up.
One, I believe, singular N.
Just the one.
Johnny
Perfect.
Sins. Make sure you've got your. You're not doing it on a work computer because he is an adult performer.
Is the second S in Sins a Z?
No, but it should be.
Missed opportunity. Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
Cool.
He's actually one of the most he's been in a lot of films. He's pretty experienced.
Wait, Mark Bezos or Johnny Sins?
Both.
Okay.
Experienced at everything.
Yeah, perfect.
Could be the same guy as far as I'm aware.
I don't know. What do we think about saying?
In this picture from the Standard, he's got one of those. He's wearing like some fancy alligator shoes and some wristbands. Like he's kind of looks like a tech, like tech founder, but he likes to chill. But he also works out at 5 a.m. every morning. You know what I mean? Like.
So we got this petition, and it's hit what?
I was just gazing deeply into Mark Bezos's eyes. I got distracted. Sorry.
Nearly 130,000 signatures as of recording. This isn't like the Change.org ones. They really are just a show of numbers, right? This isn't like those White House ones where if they hit a certain amount, they have to actually address it, like when people wanted them to build a Death Star.
But
like
here's the thing, though.
Say something about it.
Here's the thing, though, Tom. Even if Jeff Bezos wanted to go to orbit and stay in orbit, he couldn't because his space company, which has been given a bunch of grants by the American government, haven't actually been able to get rockets to sustainably go up into orbit. Their rocket, the New Glenn or whatever it's called, has been sitting on the ground in a factory and not actually test fired yet. Unlike their counterparts at SpaceX, which have, kicking goals.
Well, hey, anyway. SpaceX have gotten their rockets up into space and come back down again, but they haven't successfully gotten them to not explode on the launch pad when they land. That I've seen. Every video I've seen of a SpaceX rocket is it exploding.
In all fairness, Tom,
I'm not a marketing person.
They only write
a good thing to remember.
They only write news articles about the ones that explode. But yes, there have been a few explodey boys in the SpaceX stable, shall we say?
We have hit the point where they've had so many explodey boys that it would be newsworthy for one not to be an explodey boy. So we should have articles about that.
A very good video that SpaceX did themselves, which was how to not land an orbital rocket booster, which is just all the rockets exploding.
Okay.
Now, but that being said...
No, you can't just gloss over that. Imagine if any other business did that. If KFC was like, how not to make chicken, and just like videos of them just like licking raw chicken breasts before throwing them in the deep fryer, or just fucking up constantly, or like if doctors were like, how not to treat appendicitis, and they're just like repeatedly like what's the wrestling move of like the downward elbow slam onto someone's gut, like that's such a dumb. Why would you make a video being like, hey, here's all the times we have totally fucked rockets?
Look at Jeff Bezos' brother. What a smoke show.
All right, calm down. The reason is they have had lots and lots of successful launches and landings. So that they have, while you only get to see the ones that blow up and look pretty, there are some ones that do land.
All right. In the inevitable biopic of Jeff Bezos' life, Stanley Tucci should play Mark Bezos. Yeah, good one. Like, I should have him as that. Like, especially if they give him a couple months just to make sure that he's jacked.
Get shredded.
Like, yes. I reckon, he'd be perfect for it. And then, heck, maybe even in the porn parody of that biopic, Stanley Tucci should play Mark Bezos. Just to,
Oh, surely you would get Johnny Sins in on the action, surely.
In theory, if he blows up in this rocket, which they're launching
Jeff
for the
Bezos.
first... Yeah. Who gets all his money in that instance? Like, what happens then?
I guess, I don't know. He doesn't have any kids, does he?
I'm not sure. But yeah, so I'd imagine it'd be however his will changed following his divorce.
He doesn't have him and his wife are no longer together. So they sort of split off and she has her money now, which is, a lot of it is obviously Amazon shares and that whole situation there. But I don't know who would all of a sudden become the richest fucking person in the. It's like one of those kind of Jane Eyre, sort of Charlotte Bronte type novels where like so-and-so, your uncle has died and you've inherited a large fortune. You are now the most eligible bachelorette in all of Northamptonshire, or something like that. It just becomes a little, romantic fantasy novel. I don't know. Good question. Let's find out.
Although it's actually it's just for a little sidebar, it's contested a bit currently who's the richest person in the world. Because the last figure that I can find is dated in May, and at that point, a man named Bernard Arnault was $186.3 billion compared to Jeff Bezos, $186 billion.
Now, that guy's a legit baller because I've never fucking heard his name in my entire life.
CEO of some thingy in France. I don't know. French guy who's the CEO of something. But yeah, so it seems like he and Bezos are now neck and neck.
I am not a supervillain. I am a French CEO, completely legitimate. I own all the doorknobs. Everywhere you go that has been a doorknob, this is one of my doorknobs, and I therefore am the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
It's the doorknob business is thriving.
It's really, to be honest, is really taking off. It's been very unexpected.
And you can only be the richest person in the world if you have come from the richest region of France. Yeah. Otherwise, you are just a sparkling wealthy person.
I like that joke. That's a good one. You can apply that to all areas of life. I don't know how to segue to this, but we
did we get to the point? The point of the petition was to leave Jeff Bezos in space.
Yeah, basically. But what I'm saying is that he can't even get to space. So what's the point of the petition?
I believe they phrased it in a way of saying the billionaires don't belong on Earth or in space, but if they want to go to the latter, they should stay there. It was kind of this weird thing of being like, we don't think you should even be up there either. But you know what? I'd rather you were there. It's like this extra knife to slide in.
Plot to that Neil Blomkamp movie, Elysium. Yeah,
wasn't that more just Earth all the billionaires so much, all the rich people just fucked off to there, and this weird analogy of the few can live well at the expense of everyone else.
Is that an analogy, or is that just an accurate state of the economic situation for billionaires?
Oh yeah, it was kind of a thing of if it was trying to go down that route. I remember it being really unsatisfying because it turned out the rich people could just also let the others live perfectly well, which is a perfect analogy, really, for how things should work. But it kind of completely undid the arguments that they were having back and forth. It was oh no, that seemed kind of you mean everyone could have just lived happily ever after and just people were choosing not to. Realistic, yes. Compelling, no.
The studio got a hold of that one and tore it up a little bit.
Jodie Foster can't be too big a villain.
All right, guys, I've got some notes. Okay. All right.
Why is Donald Trump the studio executive?
Okay. I've taken on a new role. Okay, so we need some broads. Okay, not enough broads. We need a girl. We got a girl.
Yeah.
Who's the girl?
Got one. Jodie Foster.
Lesbian. Don't like it. Moving on. And then 45 minutes more of that.
And then 45 minutes more of that. That was some. We're doing some niche Trump sketch about the often talked about Neil Blomkamp film Elysium.
Shit, but and you wonder why we haven't gone into the mainstream, Tom. It's inexplicable. I don't know why.
I'm actually baffled.
I mean, we're on Twitch now, so we can't be too niche if we're on Twitch. We're obviously pretty mainstream.
If we're on Twitch, mate.
So mainstream. And there's a good segue, Adam. Speaking of Twitch,
I queued that one up.
Because we talked about a couple weeks ago about Amouranth, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch. She
biggest in terms of viewership,
popularity, viewership, all that sort of stuff. Yes.
You're not trying to say that she's physically large, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't want people, Tom. I don't want people to be confused. Okay, if some of these people are confused, we might have some idiots in our audience, and you don't want them to be confused.
If anything, I think they'd be more confused now with just this little interlude.
Now they're just concerned.
That's true.
Exactly where we want them.
Yes. We were talking about Amouranth because, long story short, She's a big presence in the hot tub streaming world of Twitch, where there was a big sort of deal of, a lot of
created that category, by the way, as well.
Oh, yeah, she's a big player in that.
Again, not physically
to get around. Thank you, George. Just to get around like Twitch's weird sort of rules around like what is and isn't appropriate attire, particularly for female streamers on Twitch. But being in things like bikinis in an appropriate setting seemed to be all right. So if people just happen to have a hot tub in their house, they could, friggin' do whatever they wanted. So it was a nice little clever thing. But then, of course, it takes off because the internet being the internet. Anyway, so following all that, we talked about a few episodes ago that Twitch responded being like, hey, it's kind of cooked how we, messed up sort of advertiser friendliness and all that sort of thing with hot tub streaming because I haven't got the quote in front of me, but it was something like, oh no, here we go. Sorry. That in Twitch's new guidelines, they said that being found to be sexy by others is not against our rules, and Twitch will not take enforcement action against women or anyone on our service for their perceived attractiveness. So, coming around to sort of the thing of being like, yes, we're still banning sexual content, like you can't just stream porn on Twitch, but if other people, if you're just doing something like you're in a bikini in a swimming pool and people are like, that's hot, that's not your fault as the streamer person, you're just doing your thing and they can't chastise you and punish you for that, particularly because, as was part of our conversation a few episodes ago, this is a new career path. This is a new work that people can do. And it is work. But anyway, we were curious when we talked about that last time to sort of what the future held for Twitch when it came to not chastising people for their perceived attractiveness or being found to be sexy by others rather than by overtly sexual acts. Didn't seem to last very long because while she's back on Twitch now, for a brief period this past week, Amouranth was banned from Twitch entirely. Not losing advertisers, not being non-advertiser friendly, banned and gone. Her channel and streams were gone.
Can you? I'm just gonna switch the sound on. Can you describe what's happening here, Tom? What Amouranth is doing?
Okay, I'm not watching the stream. All right, here we go. So yeah, okay. Now that's not an ultrasound you're hearing. That's not like a heartbeat or anything like that. Amouranth is in what appears to be like a bodysuit that looks like Spider-Gwen, I want to say, from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
While wearing, those rubber horse masks
it's a horse
that you get from costume shops, like those big horse heads, and she is making slurping sounds and ramming her face repeatedly into what I understand is an ear microphone, which are quite popular in the ASMR crowd. Audio sensory something response. I can't remember what the M stands
audio
for.
sensory meridian response.
Meridian response. Yeah. George, can you turn it off? Stop it. I don't like it in my ears.
I'm turning the sound off, but I'm leaving the visuals on there for anyone who's on the live stream.
I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but it's not for me. But anyway.
You know what yucks my yum? When you say yuck my yum, that's what yucks my yum, Tom.
All right. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum except for George's yuck of me saying yuck and yum in the same sentence. Anyway, so yeah, Amouranth was banned off Twitch for a brief period for doing what is referred to as ear-licking ASMR. And other people have also been copping some flack for doing ear-licking ASMR in yoga pants. It seems to be a big part of it. Wearing those, I've seen them referred to as TikTok yoga pants. They've got this pattern in them. It's like a crisscrossy chain link fancy pattern in these yoga pants. That just everyone's like, wow, they make your ass look fantastic. And it's just a trend. I don't know.
Don't act like you don't know every single detail about these pants, Tom. You goddamn liar.
That's true. Yeah, every single goddamn detail. Yeah, but so it's just interesting in that, okay, on the one hand, Twitch talked about other people finding you sexy for what you're doing or getting something sexual out of what you're doing isn't your fault. And while I'd say it's odd, it's weird, it makes me deeply uncomfortable, I wouldn't spend my leisure time sitting here listening to it. her in a Spider-Gwen outfit and a horse mask, deep-throating an ear ASMR microphone, I wouldn't say that's inherently a sexual thing. It's just strange. It's just weird. I wouldn't say it's a sexual thing.
I would say that is like 4,000% sexual. I'm sorry.
But do you say it's sexual? Do you say it's 4,000% sexual because of what she's doing, or that you know that there's someone whacking off to it? Because I think those are two different things.
Just because you know someone's masturbating to something, you could say that about anything on the internet. Anything. There's someone jerking off
at one point.
There's
shoving it in her face.
Yeah. So two things. So there's someone jerking off at Van Gogh's Starry Starry Night right now. Okay, so that's like not a litmus test of like what should or should not be considered sexualized on the internet. Like rule number 34 of the internet: if porn does not exist,
if it exists, there is porn of it. Yeah, and then there's some other rule that's like, if no porn exists, it will soon be made.
Porn will soon be made of that thing. So like people have a habit of sexualizing just about fucking anything. Now, with that said, the woman is in like skin tight leggings, wearing a horse head, deep throating a mic. There is a portion of people for whom this is a greatly sexually gratifying event.
But there was that of like, oh, this girl's playing Overwatch, and I can see her cleavage, and that's people.
Also potential.
No, that's not an inherently sexual thing. But there would have been people who would have been like.
Sorry, may I present for your consideration when Amouranth was wearing the pigeon mask. And
you dug up more clips that I'm not aware of.
Okay, so take a look at this. She's doing a similar thing. I don't think she's this woman is a fucking genius, as far as I'm concerned.
She's a genius.
She's a genius.
Absolute genius.
The woman's a financial mastermind. I wish I could, she's flapping her arms like she's trying to take off as a pigeon. You can't say that this is not work, okay? If you're on a 12-hour life, this woman has lost her goddamn money. She works hard for the money. But you also cannot tell me she's got her legs open with the cleavage sticking out. You can't tell me that that's not sexualized, okay?
And I think that's as sexualized as just being in a bikini somewhere.
Yeah, she's got her legs open facing the camera, Tom. There's a sexual element to what's happening.
She's doing the splits. Is the splits a sexual thing,
when you're pointing your vagina at the camera, yeah, it is.
But she's not. She's wearing pants.
Okay. All right.
So look, whether or not we agree, I think there's obviously people going to have different opinions about whether or not what she's doing is bad, good, whatever. Like the fact is,
I'm not casting aspersions on the goodness or badness of it, but you can't deny that there's an element of sexuality to what she's doing, right?
There's an element.
Of course there is.
But I think that the problem, and we discussed this a couple of weeks ago as well, is that the problem is that Twitch sets the bar here, and then obviously she being what's the word, entrepreneurial. What's the word I'm looking for? Entrepreneurial. She's working out ways to further, go to target markets and get more viewers to the channel.
Your job is to get eyeballs. So if putting a pigeon mask on and like deep throating a microphone is the way to get viewers and people want to watch your shit, then that is as objectively good a way of getting people's attention
the free market,
as anything. Yeah, it is the free market, baby. This is, fucking libertarians should be fucking thrilled about Amouranth because this is the weirdest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? People want to watch. And that is the free market at work.
I think, the problem is with Twitch, it's trying to have a bob each way. It's trying to go, I want her on our service because she's
I want to make money off her, right?
Yeah. But we also need to think of the children. It's like, well, in this instance, because of what she's doing and she's clever, you can't have both. I think this is where I've come to it. Twitch needs to make a decision. They either let it go and then let the free market decide what it'll do, or they need to go, this is the platform, this is our brand, vision, morals, all that kind of stuff. And this is what we stand for. Because at the end of the day, there are 12-year-olds or younger. Actually, 12-year-olds would probably love this, but go younger. Let's say there could be, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds logging on, playing Fortnite, watching some Twitch, and that's the thing that pops up as the most popular video on YouTube on the homepage. Not YouTube, Twitch on the homepage. So that Twitch needs to make a decision on this. They can't just sit there and go, oh, yeah, well, we'll just subsection B, paragraph 3, we'll make a new rule.
I don't know. I think the thing that surprises me about this story is just how much it goes against, I feel, what they said in the wake of Amaranth's last controversy. Right? Because while I know I take your point of sort of like how so many of these things can be seen as sexual, but I feel,
Tom,
the angle I get from that is it no. Let me finish. My point is,
don't act like I'm a pervert because I find it sexual.
I'm not acting like you're a pervert.
Okay.
I'm not acting like you're a pervert. I mean,
like many of the Amouranth viewers, I will let you finish.
You'll let me finish. Thank you. No, it's more that, not that I think that what she's doing is inherently sexual, but it's more that I can understand how it's a thing of like, I understand how people would get off on it, right? Like when, like, not so much the pigeon mask and the horse head and everything, but yeah, like doing the splits at certain angles, you're like, ooh, like, yeah, she's very flexible. I can understand why people would be attracted to that. I can understand why, I can see her butt is very shapely in those pants or whatever. Like I get all those things, but I feel that's still in the same kind of category as, like, you know, it seems like she just exists. Like women existing and people then being voyeuristic of it, that's not her fault. And you can't say earlier that, yeah, being found to be sexy by others is not against our rules. Yes. And then look at something like that where people will be like, oh, like, you know, hearing someone say, oh, it's so sexy when you're in a pigeon mask bashing your face against a microphone while you're in yoga pants and a sports bra. Fuck yeah, bro. You can't say... Because that's what
is your deepest fantasy? Well, since you asked.
Well, you know, as Han Solo once said, I don't know, I can imagine quite a bit. But, all, like, yeah, you can't just, I don't know, it just seems to be a thing of, I don't know, I haven't looked too much into it to see, like, what other streamers have been caught up in this kind of controversy, but I feel like the fact that she is, for lack of a better phrase, like, traditionally attractive or like whatever is just hugely playing into this. Like if someone of a different, if for someone in a different body type,
German man, bisexual guy that Hans that we mentioned earlier, you think it wouldn't be as much of an issue?
In yoga pants, doing the same thing, like shirtless in tight pants, wearing a pigeon mask, deep throating a mic. But I guarantee there would be people who are into it. Right, yeah. But I reckon wouldn't have gotten banned and copping the same thing.
Not as many people that would be into it, to be clear, though. But yes,
she is definitely.
You know, like, I mean,
she is definitely generating the. I mean, it's because it's her that this is getting picked up, right?
Oh, she's like one of the biggest streamers on Twitch. Yes. Like, so yeah, of course, like, you know, you're gonna hear more about her than like a streamer that no one's ever heard of, right? But I feel like this kind of controversy, if the biggest streamer in the world, like, you know, other big streamers in the world, like a Ninja, for example, as a big gaming streamer, if he just randomly did this, yes, we'd get a news story of like, hey, has anyone noticed that Ninja's no longer playing Fortnite and instead he's deep throating microphones in animal masks?
He's changed his name from Ninja to Unhinged.
But that would just be oh wow, he's capitalizing on a new trend, but you wouldn't be getting, oh wow, this is sexual as fuck, you're banned.
Yeah, clearly a part of it is policing women's bodies. I definitely understand that. I agree with that.
110%.
But like the thing that I find really hypocritical from Twitch's perspective is that they're actively monetizing the women's bodies.
Too, right?
So like, for example, if you go to Twitch and you look at popular categories, as long as you don't go too far. If you look at the popular categories on Twitch, just chatting is the second highest one with 187,000 viewers concurrently, right, as of this moment, right? And it is like the icon is a cute girl with a cup of tea in front of a microphone. Oh, so they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they know they're monetizing that. They know they're making money off it. The system is like, they're
trying to tread this line. They need to. They can't. You can't have it both ways, Twitch.
Exactly. You can't thread the needle where like you can make money off attractive female bodies and monetize the attention of 14-year-old boys, and also claim that that these women are being whores because they're showing their bodies off and it's not appropriate for our platform. Like you can't have it both ways. Like you can't make money off it and also say that it's inappropriate and it's too sexual and all this sort of stuff. But I understand that their audience is like essentially underage, like teenage boys. And so it isn't like what do we, like to be like completely free market about it? Just like then it becomes Pornhub, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like live Pornhub is what it becomes, and so there has to be some kind of line somewhere
which is where
that
I
gets
feel the
drawn
line
about appropriateness, but like clearly they haven't found it. They haven't perfected this by any means.
The other thing is like what you look at other streaming services, whether it be not in this kind of context, but like Twitch, even YouTube. YouTube's dabbling in sort of TikTok-esque.
Yeah, like what do they call them?
Well, Reels or something.
Reels is Instagram's version of TikTok. YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts, which are basically just like TikTok videos for YouTube.
But like those, feature people, for lack of a better term, proudly displaying their bodies in various positions, doing various things as well. So, you don't see this much controversy with TikTok stuff.
But this is just, it comes back to basically the central problem of the internet is like the thing that is like most
how do you word it?
The thing I'm trying how to word this. The central problem of the internet is the thing that is most compelling to the most number of people is also the lowest common denominator, right? The thing that is the most compelling to the largest number of people is also the trashiest, most generic, basic bitch kind of stuff. And there's a reason that Pornhub is like regularly in the top 10 or whatever it is, top 100 like used websites daily, is because there is a because
breadth of content that are like hits so many bases, right?
People want what they want, and a lot of what they want is sexualized content, and so it's I
mean, like look at HBO sometimes. Like I know like HBO has like well written, like more mature kind of TV shows than say like, I don't know, Friends or whatever, which is also hugely popular. But how long was it when like if you're watching an HBO show, you were expecting, this is going to be really violent and lots of nudity
and real sexy.
If I'm going to be watching an HBO show like True Blood, Game of Thrones, Boardwalk Empire, all the like that kind of era was all like, there'll be boobies and there'll be violence. I'm watching an HBO show.
And that sort of comes to the brand, I guess, for that aspect.
But I guess the difference between HBO is they're a publisher and they own it. Like that, they're happy with that being their brand.
And there's a classification system.
Yeah, there's a classification system. People come for the titties and the blood, and they know that. And the problem with Twitch is because it is, essentially aimed at like what is essentially an underage market. They can't like openly embrace that kind of stuff. Like in the way that Twitter does. Twitter's totally fine with like porn stars and stuff, sharing videos of their stuff on their website. And like that is pretty
Twitter's kind of had
liberal and open in that regard.
They had that discussion at least of, all right, we're going to allow sexually explicit content on the platform.
Whereas Instagram...
Now let's do something about the Nazis. No, they haven't actually ever discussed that ever.
Yeah, the second part didn't happen, but they definitely agreed on the nipples. Whereas Instagram... like as tried to tread a more sort of family friendly line, but which also has additional problems because it's like, I remember seeing some post where someone posted a nipple which got banned and like, haha, gotcha, it was a male nipple. Like all this sort of like, this weird kind of censorious stuff around sexual, because like the idea being anyone over 13 can have an Instagram account and it's meant to be more kid friendly, but how do you do that on the internet? But also like people post very, very sexual type content on Instagram. It's become a meme now, like the sort of Instagram Insta hoes and women that try and that attract a following in the hundreds of thousands or millions of followers by posting scantily clad pictures, which technically meet the definition of modeling.
Well, but it's where it's where like stuff like that, particularly in like, I don't know, we're now delving into like the Free the Nipple campaign and all that sort of stuff, is when people talk about what inherently makes something sexual, and when you talk about it around like the nipple and breasts and things like that, in a sense of actually in terms of sexual activity, that like nipples and breasts in and of themselves aren't part of the process outside of just what we societally and like commercially and artistically and all this sort of stuff have placed upon them. So it is possible for like, I guess it's possible in other contexts as well for other parts of people's bodies, but the fact that a person's breasts can be visible in a non-sexual context So then that's what you're saying about with Instagram. It's like them saying, oh no, we've banned the nipples on breasts because, oh no, that's porn, but a man's nipple, like, oh, like, you know, no one's attracted to men's nipples.
It's inherently
nothing
kind
sexual
of
about that.
But I guess
think
this
there's
is
a shit ton of like
Tatum
volunteer
has something
firefighter.
else to say about that.
Yeah, there's like a shit ton of firefighter calendars that I'd like you to have a word with.
There's,
but
this
yeah.
is, I think this is the central idea that we're sort of circling around here with between all of these different services. Is that like, unless it
what
is
is sexual content?
What is sexual content? Because like, unless it is a complete, I think what this argument leads me to believe is that unless you have completely uncensored content, like it is
this will always be a struggle.
It'll always be a struggle. The platforms that don't allow completely uncensored content will be kind of hypocritical, and I don't know that there's really a way around that. But I'm also aware like there has to be some kind of practical limit somewhere. You can't just have everything on everything anywhere. You know, like you can't put child porn on, you know, any of these services, obviously. So like clearly we all agree that there has to be some common sense limit somewhere. But like if you ask me to define it for you, I'm going to come up short. I really don't have a good answer to this question as to like, how do you make this work properly?
Bunch of lawyers at this point sitting around
just
some board table,
bashing their heads against their keyboards.
What is
Emily Bazelon from Slate's Political Gabfest is just like bashing her head against her fucking computer, listening to this idiotic conversation that we're having about this. But
well, because I suppose, I don't know, the way that I would approach it would be things like, you know, no nudity of anyone who's under 18, of that sort of sense. You'd have no actual sex acts can be shown on your platform, so you can't just like hop onto someone's Twitch.
Deep throating ear mics, or
well, but that's the thing. Well, that's not a sex act. That can be.
Depends on how you do it.
You might find that sexy, but it's not a sex act. Like, I think that you can define what a sex act is.
There's there's some legal precedent around that.
Smarter people than me have maybe legally precedent
smarter
that sort of stuff.
And much less horny people than me have spent some time putting this list
together.
Can
do all that, but like, no sex acts, no nudity of people under a particular age, so 18. And then, and that's the thing where you could draw a line if you wanted to, if you really want to do it as like all right, we're going to have like, let's have this be kid friendly, but also not be censoring so much of what people are doing. You just have to do a no nudity. So you could be like, okay, you're not allowed to show your boobs, you're not allowed to show your dick, your butt, whatever. But also like, all right, men, you're not allowed to have your tops off as well. I feel like you'd have to do you have to be clothed.
Yeah. I think they've already got those.
It has to be like, it has to be kind of equally applied if we're going to do this in any kind of way that, because George, you're right. Like, how would you police this kind of thing?
Yeah.
And part of what gets us to that point is if you're going to be like, well, you can't show your boobs because then we're bordering on softcore pornography. That's when you have but then why are men's chests just allowed to be out and all that sort of stuff and free the nipple, etc. So you got to either say not like they're both not allowed, or there can be contexts where you're allowed to see them. And then you're getting into a situation that someone like a teenage boy on Twitch or something could log onto a thing and there's some boobs.
Okay.
For example,
just be, let me show you what I'm seeing
Twitch
right
now. Twitch have already got probably that no nudity thing. The issue isn't so much about nudity. I think the issue is more around what do you define as you said.
There's that too.
But something might not be nudity and might be quite sexualized. Like this woman that we're looking at right now, Faith, who's streaming on Twitch. She's like what you would define as a traditionally attractive woman, okay? And, small waist, large boobs, pretty face. And she's in a hot tub in a bikini, dancing.
And she's playing a dance game.
Okay, I know she's playing a dance game, and we can see the dance game, but the dance game is in the small bottom right 1/8 of the screen. And
because you're not here to watch the dance game, you're here to watch someone play it.
Okay, but the point is that there is a sexual, you can't deny, Tom, that there is a sexual component of what they are these women that are doing these hot tub Twitch streams, and more power to them. I'm saying they should be doing this and they should be allowed to do this, but you would be ignorant. Look, when she's bending over in front of the camera showing maximum amount of cleavage. They are exploiting what is a loophole in order to capitalize on men's desire for them in order to make money. And in a free market society, I think they should absolutely be able to do that. I think sex work is legal and should be legalized as it is here in Australia, in Victoria. So like I'm fine with it. I'm on your side, but you cannot deny that there is a sexual component to what is happening here.
I think I would deny it in the sense of that. Well, like, I don't know, if I was at a house party and it's summer and there's a pool out the back and people are playing this video game, dancing in the pool when there's I don't know if they're one of those rich people who has a TV outside on the patio, playing a video game and dancing in bikinis and stuff like that, I wouldn't be like, oh, fuck, I'm at a sex party right now. Like, this is all super sexualized.
Well, you would if Jonah Hill started jerking off in the middle of it, like in Wolf of Wall Street.
Well, yes, but then it's the jerking off that does it. And that's my point, that's the sex thing. Like, just because, like, yes, I would see maybe, like, if there were women in bikinis, like, playing a dancing game at a house party and being like, oh, wow, they're cute and attractive.
But
and I can see how...
Tom, the reason that they're streaming it, you can't say, yeah, you're describing, if it was a different situation, it'd be fucking different. Of course it is. We're talking about the situation where someone has
happening digitally.
Hang on. The point is someone has set up a scenario where they are in a bikini for the purposes of capitalizing on sexual attention that they know that they are going to attract. It's like, I'd say it's more akin to like a cam girl or some kind of like, situation like that, except it's not technically breaking the rules around nudity. And you have to admit that is different. If it was just a case of her playing the game and watching her play the game, then why isn't she doing it in her tracksuit pants? Why are we watching this girl in a pink bikini, in a hot tub? The reason she's in a hot tub is not because she would be in a hot tub naturally. The reason she's in a hot tub is because the hot tub is the artifice that allows her to get around these rules around not having, situational appropriate clothing. The reason the hot tub is there is to facilitate the partial nudity.
But I guess the thing that I would be saying is that then why does it matter what she is or isn't wearing to base like her intentions of enjoyment of playing this game and in the context?
I agree with you, theoretically.
But that's the thing. It's like, why does she have to be in track pants for you to believe that she's not into the sexual attention? What if I'm like, oh man, I really wish you were in a baggy hoodie and some track pants. That's exactly what I need right now to have a good wank. You wouldn't be all like, oh, she's like a sexual content thingy then, would you? But I'm still having the wank.
Hang on.
That's the problem.
But if you're...
This is a strong beer, by the way. That's why I'm so openly talking about the fact that I'm wanking and stuff.
From a biological evolutionary perspective, right? If you are showing more skin and behaving in a way like, dancing or, these are things that are more arousing to more people than sitting in your tracksuit pants playing the video game, with your face partially obscured. And you have to know that there is a sexual component.
Now.
I just don't know why you won't admit that there is a deliberately sexual component to what is happening here.
Because I feel the reason that we're having this discussion is just based on more like just patriarchal pressures that we're having. I think we should be questioning the fact that we are going here.
Okay, but the patriarchy cuts both ways. Yes, the patriarchy wants her to be semi-clad and nude, and like that's probably wrong. And we shouldn't ask that of people, and society shouldn't expect that of people in order for them to make a living. But also, she's capitalizing on that patriarchy, making, hundreds, thousands of dollars a day, making a very good living out of it. So, like, it's not as though she's some partial bystander in this.
Yeah. Let's flip it the other way. To use your argument, Tom, would, like, hypothetically, let's say, like, I would say that's attractive. That's something that I would say, yep.
Yeah.
She's an attractive person.
She's an attractive
not wearing much clothing,
trying to be attractive, and I'm
trying to
attracted
be attractive.
To her. Yes,
but so to use Tom's theory here, the reason why I find that attractive is not so much anything genetic or innate in me as a male, but it's because society has put me in a position to view that as sexual. So hypothetically speaking, if we were to break the cycle of us doing this,
I don't know. Do you ever see those Birds of Paradise in the David Attenborough documentaries where they're dancing and they're doing a big sexual display for one another? I kind of feel like that's what's happening here. Like it is a biological thing.
I guess the question being is, can we, as males, can we untrain our brains to go, cool, I'm very neutral to that?
Yes, and we should.
And
we should be able to pass that out from what our sexual desires say, what is innate in us to say like, this woman's attractive and I want to have sex with her. And we should be able to pass that and separate that from, do I think she should be allowed to do it? Because the answer is yes, I do think she should be allowed to do it. But I guess that the frustration I have with your perspective, Tom, is it doesn't allow for the fact that these women have agency, like that they are deliberately participating in this, what we agree is like a sexist patriarchal culture in order to make money in the capitalist system. I just think your refusal to acknowledge that is like, I think it's kind of, it doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't assume that we're living in the real world. There's no pragmatism to it. Does that make sense?
Oh, I guess that makes sense, I suppose. And I'm not saying that like, I'm not saying in a sense that they're not like as individuals here of being like, well, let's like, cool. I mean, if you're wanting the same as people who get into sex work and things like that, of like, oh, cool. Well, like, there's those are the services I'm wanting to attract. I can make money this way and X, Y, and Z, and cool. That's great and everything. But it just seems to be that, I don't know. See, I feel it's me. Maybe I'm being the Adam optimist of this episode, but I feel like it's that we are like heavily policing like these sorts of activities when there might be people who just genuinely are having a good time with a person who's simulating being in a pool party.
You're saying it's not up to us or Twitch in that instance to make the determination about what is a sexual display.
Yeah, outside of
like, it should be the person who's creating the content that makes that determination, not the outside viewer. Is that what you're arguing for?
There's
in that sense, and with Twitch's policy of if the audience's perception of whether what you're doing is a sexual display doesn't matter, then I don't know. Going back to the original story of Amouranth's ban. They dropped that rule real quick.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, right? Like we can sort of disagree about the intentionality of the performers and things like that. I think that's mostly a sort of fruitless exercise. But yeah, I think the thing that we all agree on is like Twitch should have a standard set of rules and then abide by those rules. You can't say it doesn't matter if people are attracted to you, that's irrelevant, and then also punish people for for people being attracted to them, right?
Both these scenarios for Amouranth are the same. Yeah. Like her being in a bikini playing a dance game or like writing people's names on a pickle Rick is no different to being in cosplay of Spider-Gwen and a horse mask deep-throating a microphone when it comes to like other people find this to be hot, but neither of them are pornographic or sex acts. And if your rules are like no actual sex acts and stuff, I guess
it's the narrow definition of sex acts that I have a problem with, is that because I think things can be sexual and sexualized. Like she's dancing and, touching her boobs. All the comments are saying, oh, wow, you're so sexy. I love you. All this sort of stuff. It's not a sex act. It's sexual,
but it's not a sex act.
It's still sexual, right?
Yeah.
I would be uncomfortable with my like 8-year-old son watching this.
What about like the scene from Ghost where they do pottery?
That's sexual. That's very sexual.
That's like a famous. You just mentioned a famously sexual scene.
So then, if she was doing pottery, if someone's just streaming pottery and they're hot, is that doing a sexual display?
It's not so much that she's streaming pottery and then he's coming around behind her and then there's an intense there between, and then there's a tense there between the characters.
Oh my love,
could be
my
great scene.
A hunger for
could just
your
be
touch.
Yeah, quick before we're DMCA'd. Could be I don't know. Could just be teaching to be better at pottery. Like.
I don't know why you're taking
making out while doing it.
I don't know why you're taking the fucking extremist position on this. I don't know why it infuriates me so much as to why you can't just admit that yes, they should be allowed to do it, and yes, it is deliberately sexual for the purposes of garnering extra attention. What is Instagram then if people not being deliberately sexual in a way that is PG-13 safe in order to garner attention?
Isn't the concept that's the thirst trap, right? That's the concept that we're talking about here.
Yeah. But I don't know, I feel I'm coming more from a way of thinking that we should be changing the way we think about these sorts of things. From an ideological
perspective, we should be striving to go to...
We as a society should be striving to do better and to allow more and to be more permissive and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just also aware that there is a biological component to sex drive that is completely separate from like our wants and desires as a society. Like there are certain things... fucking symmetrical face and small waist and large breasts. And these things are going to be, like, from a biological perspective, more desirable to more men more often than not. And to deny that just seems kind of like you're ignoring biological reality. That's what it seems like.
I'll preface this with the statement that I am not an expert in these sorts of things, but from my very broad understanding of
we could preface all of our statements that way.
Of course, but just looking at art and culture and all these sorts of things over many years, but that wasn't always the case. Big breast, small waist, etc. Look at how people and women have been depicted.
Sexual selection is a
centuries and millennia.
I know standards have changed and things change, but sexual selection, this is it is a biological reality. Okay, there are and those standards change. The way the way that one African swallow looks at another African swallow versus a European swallow, those standards that they apply are going to be different. And to us, they might seem completely fucking arbitrary, but there are standards.
I know. Have you seen a European swallow? Dang.
There are standards. There are reasons that animals mate with some animals and not other animals. And that is a function of biology, not of the patriarchy in African and European swallows. It is. That's not socialized. People have
cultural aspect.
Animals have preferences, and those are biological innate. And yes, there is a layer on top of that is societal, that molds and shapes those in different directions. Big lips and big butts are in vogue now, whereas you didn't see that in the 80s and 90s. That those kinds of societal things have changed, but I think it seems to me like you're denying the very basis of biological sexual selection.
Well, but what about
the podcast is called Unnatural Selection, Tom. So this bothers me greatly.
Well, no, I know, but what about asexual people? I don't that's the thing. I am not an expert in any of this, so I kind of don't want to go down too far a hole. But I don't know what if we're talking about it being it's a natural, and we're already at an hour and 12 minutes. But asexual people and stuff like that. And then there's...
Yeah, but we're talking about...
And then there's different sexualities across, there's homosexuality
and there's also lesbians,
and all these sorts of things. And,
if we're talking about gay dudes, there are gay, men that aren't attracted to women at all that would not be attracted by this display. Obviously, to a large degree, it is context specific based on the individual, and every individual is different. But we can say things with certainty about these populations in the aggregate. There are studies on this. We know that people that are considered more conventionally attractive do better at work, earn more money. These are measurable things. I just don't. I agree with the idea that it's completely decoupled from biology.
But can we? I guess.
Should we do better? Should we try to do better? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what Tom's trying to get to. I think is that ideologically we should be starting to separate some of these things out. Whether or not we can get to 100%.
But and while those studies who hit things of that people considered conventionally attractive, quote unquote, do better, whatever, but I feel that benchmark of what's considered conventionally attractive is different depending on what era you are conducting that study in. I don't know, look at the ancient Greek statues of Aphrodite and stuff like that they don't look like Amouranth, for example.
The specific qualities are irrelevant. The qualities.
But biologically, we haven't changed much since then. So then there's the environment that we were grown up in. and the society that we live in informs all these choices.
I can't believe that it is completely societal. Like, I think that is just a view of the world that I just don't agree with. I think there is a mixture of biology and, nature and nurture. I think it's both.
Yeah.
It'd be a mixture, having a sex drive,
it's
completely, of course, is a biological thing.
And I could be attracted to a brick if I grew up in the right society. Like, I don't think that's the case.
There are people who are attracted to objects.
Which is not to say that at the far ends of the distribution, you're not going to get the human species is a very broad tent. Yeah. You will get everything in the human species somewhere at some point.
Exactly.
But what we're talking about is what the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know. There are people who are there are people, not to yuck anyone's yum. There are people who are really attracted to like technology and smartphones and things like that. So probably the iPhone reveals really do it for them.
But they're the anomaly. Okay, the reason that it's worth mentioning is because it is not the norm. And we're talking about distributions here. What? What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. My partner just walked in a full face mask with the cat in tow, yelling at her because we're an hour past his dinner and I haven't fed him yet because she was out of the house. So she's had the scoop with a cat yelling, full face mask, looking like was kind of strolling in to scoop things up, but kind of trying not to throw me off. And instead, I laughed really hard. So.
On that note, I think we solved it, guys. On that note, we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. And make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social media that are ruining the world that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. So it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom D. Heath.
You can follow me on Instagram at AC Rain.
And you can follow all of our gorgeous bodies, which we are displaying on the internet for everyone's sexual enjoyment, at unnaturalshow.com. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We will see you next week.
We didn't even
it wrong.
We're doing it wrong. Yeah, we are doing it wrong, but we didn't even mention Sydney's in lockdown. That sucks.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. That sucks. That's crazy.
Go to the ABC for that. We're not the repository, the suppository of all wisdom, as Tony Abbott once said.
Yep.